All right, everybody, it's finally time to take a look at MkGee's production. At this point, it's really no secret the man is an absolute hitmaker with songs like Alesis, Are You Looking Up, and Daisies. It's clear he has a sound we'd all like to take some inspiration from. And so I'm going to show you how to do that without spending thousands of dollars on gear. Let's get into it. First, let's take a look at Alesis. This is probably his easiest song to understand tone-wise. The bass has this amazing warm fuzz going on, and I'm going to show you how to get super close to that. You could get away with using a VST for this, but honestly, if you're really trying to emulate real players, it's probably best that you pick up a real instrument. One of the reasons I really suggest playing these parts live is to really capture that feeling we're going for. You're going to want human dynamics in your playing. Obviously, this can be replicated using velocity in your DAW, but it's never quite going to give you that true feel of a live take. A lot of people like to bring up the noise gate method with these effects, but you really don't need to do it all the time if you actually play with dynamics. All right, guys, I'm going to show you the tone breakdown on the bass first. So I'm using the stock Logic bass amp. Honestly, this one sounds pretty good. If I don't use this one, I use Bogren Digitals. Not really changing too much with this one. It's really the effects we're going to put on the bass. So we got the Juno chorus. Depth is pretty low, mix on all the way. And it's on the track because I'm trying to emulate like pedals and hardware. So I could put it on Ascend, but I really do want it to affect the tone a lot. So that's why it's on the track. And then after that, this is where it gets important. We have the pedal board. Now, I have a lot going on this pedal board. So these are both off. The phaser is on. I kind of like this. The rate's not doing too much. We got the vibe. Now, I like this because it kind of emulates a little bit of that rotor cabinet feel, but without also doing way too much. The rate is also pretty high. And then the most important part is the fuzz. So when you're playing this bass part, you really want to kind of like make sure all your notes are consistent, or if you want it to be like less fuzzy, you play a bit softer. Now, I have the fuzz not very high around here, but you'll see when it's off. It's still a super nice tone, but when we want that little fuzz and warm sound, it's gonna really help once this is on. So I'll turn it on like this. You can see it just squishes the signal like really nicely. And you could, if you want to go even crazier, you could put it up like. And then once you're there, you can see the flanger and the vibe are really starting to, and the phaser as well, are really starting to work overtime once that's squashed down. But I personally, for like that Alesis type vibe, it's gainy and fuzzy, but it's not like extremely fuzzy. So I would keep it around here. And then after that and the fuzz, that's when I bring this flanger in. Now you could use the stock flanger. I just really like the sound of this one, the Arteria's BL20. But yeah, mix is on like 75%. You'll see when I dial it back. We can still hear that phase in the back working a little bit, but I like that combo of the chorus, phaser, and the flanger all going with that fuzz. So I would bring it back to around here. And you can see now it's starting to really give you that like slight wave up and down behind the fuzz. I really like where it sits like that. And then after that, I have Denise bass on Ascend, not on the track, just boosting around 70 hertz with mix 13%. This on and off. Sounds really good there, but I kind of like a more modern sound of my mixes, so I boosted a little bit. So you can see on and off, it does bring out that low end, like the low mids up quite a lot. Layer with the bass, I have some chords. As well as some harmonic ear candy. So start off on our clean guitar tone for the verse chords. Basically, I know MkGee uses a JC40 jazz chorus, the Roland amp, but because we're doing this digitally and with stock plugins, I figured we'd just go with the stock Logic like twin reverb clone. Honestly, good clean tone. It's not gonna get super gainy unless you dime it and load a bunch of pedals with it. But it's just a good stock clean tone. He also uses a baritone. Keep in mind, I don't own a baritone, so I just tuned my Strat to like C standard, I think it was. Honestly, it'll be fine if your guitars are set up okay enough. The intonation is not gonna be too bad, but if you really care, get yourself a baritone, it'll just save you some time. Once I have that tone, like basically it's clean, it's doing what I want it to do, I bring the chorus in. Now, this isn't doing that much. It just, you can see it's working a little bit. But once I bring in this ensemble after, now we're getting somewhere I really like, because this adds voices. You'll hear it, I go on and off. That's off, and then on. One thing I really like about MkGee's tone is it has a lot of body without doing too much, and this definitely helps you do that by just bringing in a couple more voices in there. And to bring that even more together, I've got this compressor working. And this is obviously squashing the level, but it's obviously bringing our chorus ensemble in even more. After this compressor, we have the reverb now. This is a good stock reverb. You hear it's not doing too much, but it brings you in that room sound that he's kind of known for as well. Personally, if I were gonna use plugins that weren't stock, I'd probably use Valhalla Room on this, but this does actually sound pretty good. And I know in this verb, you can also change the IR, the impulse response, if you have some you really like. So just keep that in mind. And then I've got another EQ, just kind of pulling down some of those low mids that are a bit too aggressive, and a flanger. And this is pretty key, putting the flanger at the end. I really like doing that instead of having the flanger earlier. I personally like it when it's flanging like everything after it's been compressed. I feel like it just brings up a lot more of the signal rather than you're only flanging like certain bits. I feel like when you put the flanger at the end, you're kind of just choosing the fact that this tone is gonna be super processed. Whereas like a lot of people I know would put this like well down here and just be okay with that. But I'm not that type of guy, so I like it to be like super up here. These chords in the lead are using my version of his tone with stock plugins. If you guys want to grab that, link is down below. Next, let's take a look at that amazing reverb lead on I Want. This is using the Roland VG8, but honestly, we're gonna get super close using free plugins. All right, so for this reverb tone, the secret to this really, if you don't have the Roland VG8, is Valhalla Supermassive, amazing free plugin. It is the gauzy verb preset. Shout out to someone on Reddit, I read a comment, I was like, how do you find this tone like without having the Roland? And this is the way that's gonna get you very close. So I'm gonna turn this off and I'm gonna play it for you. And I'm gonna turn it on and you're immediately gonna hear the difference. So just like a kind of nice fuzzy tone to start off with, but really not doing anything too crazy. Put Valhalla Supermassive on. That is very close to the tone that we want. And then obviously you can play with the delay. I like 212, as when you're actually playing the part, it does sit closer in time. Now for the hook part of my idea, I really want to take some inspiration from the key sound on Dream Police. To achieve the sound, you can really use any stock key. It just needs to be bathed in chorus, flanger, and a pretty decent amount of verb. I also have a synth effects chain in the Dream Police kit. This is for all you stock plugin warriors out there. Don't worry, I got you. So we start off with the Juno chorus on pretty high, depth kind of high, but the mix is pretty much almost all the way there. And then flanger. If I want it to be even more exaggerated, I'd do something like this. You can see it already gets a little more wavy and a little more crushed as you do that. And then to crush it even more, I've got a compressor, which is really bringing up that flanger in that chorus even more. To really go for that kind of like tape slammed emulation thing that he's got going on, I really like to put the compressor after the effects as well, because that's really just going to bring up everything you're already doing. And then after that, Valhalla Vintage Verb. Again, on the track, because we're trying to emulate hardware. And then after that, just EQ to clean it all up. Next, we'll take a look at that fuzzy lead tone. For this, it's really important that you really dig into those notes. You want to be most present throughout the part. It's really going to bring out that fuzz exactly where you want it to. So for this tone right here, we're using the same stock plugin one as before, but we're adding that fuzz into the mix. So it's on pretty high right now. I'll play that for you now. Sounds really good, really warm, kind of what we're going for. I would maybe put this, a lot of people as well, would maybe throw it down here. Sounds nice, but I really like that super crunchy sound, so I'm gonna go like right there. And I think it's especially important for like these like a little bit heavier tones, like slightly distorted, is to double it left and right. So I actually have done that, so this is what they sound like together. And finally, I have an outro section with more distorted leads and a heavily processed piano. For these like super granular, like crushed, distorted, like verby, like soupy kind of sounds, I usually do a couple things, but there's always two main plugins on here that are really working hard. As I said before, it's Auto Chroma and Shimmer. So I'm gonna turn everything off, let you hear the piano on its own. Now we're gonna bring in Auto Chroma, and this is gonna do a lot of heavy lifting, obviously. I really like this plugin because you can add these granular effects an octave up or down. So after that, I have a bit of delay. And then after the delay, some more reverb. And then with that, what's really gonna make it sound like super gritty and we want is this Tascam Porta 1 plugin. But this is really good because it's just a straight up emulation of that Porta Studio. Like this just sounds really huge overall. All right, everybody, before I do the final playthrough, I just want to say a huge thank you for sticking around this long. As you guys saw earlier, my Dream Police kit is out now. I put a ton of work into it, and I really hope you guys enjoy it. It's out now on DREAMRprod.com. If you guys haven't already, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. It helps the channel out a ton. Really hope you learned something. See you all in the next one. Peace.